let's talk a little bit about your publishing company. Let's talk about the Free River Press, telling America's story out of Decorah, Iowa. How did you come to decide to be a publisher? I know you have a great artist. That would be your wife, Bonnie Kolak. She's got a nice woodcut here on the front cover with these long fingers on this guy eating I'm sure, an organic meal, and these fingers probably were real good guitar fingers for somebody. Tell us a little bit about turning into a publisher, Bob.
Okay, well, it actually happened as a result of when Bonnie and I got married in 1988. We got married here in Chicago. She wanted to go to Nashville, and we did. And I had to invent a living for myself. I had done adult education years before in Michigan in a one-room school mixing people of literally all ages. So I said, that's what I want to do. So when we got down to Nashville, I called up the Board of Education and spoke to a woman who was really sympathetic, and she said, well, you know, the only thing I have is a position teaching GED with the homeless downtown at a men's
shelter.
Sounds
real Chicago-esque.
Yeah. So that was great. I literally jumped up. I said, you know, fantastic. So I went down there, and I would sit around in the afternoons in this it's kind of like a central clustering area of this shelter. It was for men only, and they had day jobs. These guys had to have jobs in order to stay there. So I would just pick up people very occasionally. Now, at this time, most of them, at that point in time, most of these guys had their GEDs. A couple of guys, or high school diplomas. Some of them even had college degrees. One guy had a master's degree. So I had to figure out what to do. This woman at the Board of Ed said, you know, you don't have to do GED. Just invent something. So I had taught composition at Columbia College here
I used to teach there too.
Oh, you did? Okay. And at Roosevelt. So what I did was I got these guys talking about how they became homeless. We'd sit around and have coffee and talk, and then I got them writing their stories. So because this was a method I had developed at Roosevelt before I ever went to Columbia College, because I would get the students to tell their stories before they wrote them down. Okay, so slowly, you know, 1 and 2s and 3s, slowly I got together a group of guys. And it wasn't always the same guys because they worked in different shifts. And we started doing really neat stories. And then I strengthened the group by bringing in non-homeless people into the workshop. So we had a real strong core eventually of about like 4 non-homeless and about 6, 7 homeless guys. And we did a public reading. After maybe about 4 months of this, we did a public reading at a cafe, and with standing room only. It was great. And Nashville was very supportive of this whole project. And we did another reading a few months later. A producer for All Things Considered came down, did a piece on that. It just continued to mushroom. We eventually did 6 books by the homeless. And interestingly enough, through Free River Press, I was running a great books workshop, discussion group, seminar, mixing homeless and non-homeless together. We were taking texts. We took 13 weeks of Greek texts, 13 weeks of medieval texts, and 13 weeks of Chinese texts that dealt with the question, what does it mean to be a full human being? And because I wanted the people with power to know that this was a systemic problem here that we had on our hands, and I wanted to train some of these homeless folks in debate techniques and argumentation so they would become public spokesmen for the homeless cause, and that actually happened.